Hello everyone, my name is Ali and I'm a PhD candidate in construction engineering and management at Iowa State University. Today we want to talk about creating dashboards in Excel to automate ownership and operation cost calculations. I assume you already watched the lecture video which explains all of the ownership and operation cost calculations in detail. You were given a similar problem for your lab assignment and you may use the technique you will learn in this video to solve the lab problem using Excel. Also, if you choose to do all of the calculations by yourself, not by using Excel, having skills for creating dashboards in Excel may help you later when you become an estimator or you will work as a project manager. So here is the problem you previously saw in the previous lecture video. You may want to pause the video now to read the problem one more time and refresh your mind regarding the problem statement. Okay, so this dashboard has three major tabs: summary tab, ownership cost calculation, and operation cost. And as you can see, I imported all of the inputs into the dashboard. And in this dashboard, I showed all of the inputs with green color, all the calculated fields that the cells required some calculations with orange, and all the outputs with red color. We'll get back to the output section at the end when we come up with ownership cost and operation cost. Let's start with calculating fields in this sheet. And as you can see, we don't need to do that much in this sheet. Most of the cells are inputs. So the first calculating field would be total rates. We have insurance rate, interest rate, taxes, and storage fee rates. So let's just add all of them together. There we go, and we got 17.55. We'll use this value for conducting economic analysis. And also another thing that we need to take into account is tire service life. We already have the tire service life in hours, and we know the tires usage on hourly basis in each year, and we need to know how long our tires will last in terms of years. So we basically need to divide the whole service life in hours by the yearly usage, and then we got the 2.86, which would be the service life for tires. Another thing that we need to take into account is type of fuel. We know that different types of fuel would have different consumption rates. So basically we have two types of fuel in the book. One of them is gasoline, the other one is diesel. So, and we want to give this flexibility to users to easily choose gasoline or diesel and then do the calculations based on that. So for that, we need a list of all types of fuels that we have. One is gas and the other one is diesel. And then we can go to data tab here, and then in the data tools section, we can choose data validation, and then from this drop down we select list, and then we select these two values, and now we can easily select gas or diesel from this drop down, but basically nothing happens when we select them. What we need to do here is to add an if statement which can show the consumption rate values for gas and diesel. So we know from the book that the gas consumption rate would be 0.06 gallon divided by horsepower per hour, and this value for diesel would be 0.04. So if the value in this cell is equal to gas we will have 0.06 consumption rate, and if it's not gasoline, if it's something else, we will have 0.04. Just made a minor mistake here. Yeah, there we go. And we close the parentheses, and there we go. So for gas, we will get 0.06, and for diesel, we'll get 0.04, right? And you may want to not see these values here. One thing that you can do is easily just change the font color to white, or you may choose to hide these cells here. But for this specific application, I prefer to keep the values that you can see them. So now we are in the ownership cost calculation tab. As you can see, I copy and pasted all of the required inputs and calculated fields that we calculated in summary section for ownership cost calculation here. So the first thing that we need to do is calculating cost of our equipment without tires, which easily would be done by subtracting the present value of our machinery minus tires cost. And the second thing that we need to do is to calculate the annual payments for equipment. Excel has a very useful function named PMT, which allows calculating constant periodic payment, which requires to pay off a loan or investment with a constant interest rate over a specific period. So using PMT, we don't need to go through all of those painful calculations, and we don't need any table to look up. So it makes our life way easier. There we go. So we need to first select the rate, and then we need analysis period, and then we need to choose the present value, and also we need to choose the future value of our asset. But there is one thing that you need to know, that future value is a positive cash flow, and all of our cash flows that we have here, they are negative cash flows. So to include the salvage value or future value in this calculation, we need to put minus behind this value to do the calculations in the correct way. So there we go. Another thing that we need to do is calculating annual payment for tires. So for tires, we can use the same function one more time. We know what's the rate, we know what's our tire service life, and we also know what is our tires present value, our tires cost. There we go, and there is no salvage value associated with tires. And at the end, we need to add these two values together. Can easily do that. And finally, we need to calculate the hourly cost of equipment and tire cost, and we need to divide this number by total yearly usage of our equipment. And yep, this is the hourly cost calculation for ownership cost. Okay, so finally we get to the operation cost calculation. So similar to ownership cost calculation, I linked all of the important values and inputs for conducting operation cost calculation to the summary section. So as you can see, all of these values are linked to the summary section. And unlike ownership cost calculation, I'm not going to do all of these calculations step by step, because it's not really challenging to do these calculations. Basically, we need to have the formula and then input the correct values into those formulas. So there's no specific syntax or there is no complexity with conducting the calculations. And I also include the depreciation and consumption rate formula for loop cost calculations, because these two formulas are somehow challenging to remember, so I found it appropriate to include these two formulas in this Excel sheet. So here we came up with yearly depreciation, and then by having yearly depreciation and having annual usage hours, we came up with hourly depreciation. So one of the things that you need to note that here, that according to problem statement, equipment repair cost is 90% of the depreciation. And I did not include this 90% value into the summary sheet. As you can see here, it is not included. And one of the things that we can do to improve this dashboard is adding this specific item or input into the summary section. Or if you don't want to do it, just keep in mind that each time you need to check this value here to make sure that your calculations are consistent with the problem statement. And yes, and then we have conducted calculations for tire repair cost. So according to problem statement, tire repair cost was, yes, let me show here. So tire repair cost was 15% of tire depreciation, which would be 50% multiply in total tire cost divided by tire service life in hours, since we want to calculate the repair cost on hourly basis. And then if we add up these two values, we'll get total repair cost. And so cost calculation for fuel consumption rate was really straightforward. We only needed to multiply consumption rate for gas and flywheel horsepower, which is 861 in this problem, and operating factor, and it would give us the hourly fuel consumption cost. And final item that we need to calculate is loop cost calculation, which would be enabled using the formula here. And at the end, when we did all of the calculations for lube and oil, fuel, and repair cost calculations, we can add them up and we can come up with total operation cost. And one of the things that we need to do after this is to input the total ownership cost, which we calculated here, and total operation cost, which we have here, into our summary section and add them up. And another thing that I think it's worth to mention, that previously I've used this color I used the red color, very strong red color, dark red color for showing our outputs. But as you can see, if you use that, it's a bit challenging to see the numbers. Actually it's not challenging, it's impossible. And even if you change the font color, you cannot see that. So I decided to change the cells color for output values to a lighter red version. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope that after watching this tutorial you will be able to create your own dashboard.